Did you know your right to vote is not guaranteed by the Constitution? A new book is making a case for enshrining that right and breaking down barriers to voting. A Real Right to Vote: How a Constitutional Amendment Can Safeguard American Democracy is written by Rick Hasen. And Rick, a professor of law and political science at UCLA and director of the Safeguarding Democracy Project, joins us now. Rick, good to see you. Thanks for being with me.
It's great to be with you.
So I've read the book, and you write in there that the Supreme Court is dangerous, not just because it doesn't protect voting rights, but because it also sees Congress's power to do so as being narrow, meaning they would strike down any effort Congress should choose to make.
Well, that's right. And you can go back to 2013. The Supreme Court decided a case called Shelby County versus Holder, where they killed off a key part of the Voting Rights Act. And it's just, if you look at the 235-year history of the Supreme Court, most of the time it has not been leading on voting rights. It's actually been the laggard. It's been holding back the creation and the expansion of voting rights.
And what your book does is it proposes a 28th Amendment, which enshrines the voting right in the Constitution. But I find really interesting is, you know, when you're reading the book, and a lot of readers might think, oh, this is a new concept. You make the point in the book, this is not new. We can go back to the Civil War to find these efforts.
Well, that's right. And, you know, one of the things that surprises people the most is, don't we already have a right to vote in the Constitution?
Exactly, yeah.
And, you know, if you go back to the founding, you go to the 1780s, people didn't have the right to vote for president. People didn't have the right to vote for Senate. We didn't get that till the 20th century in the 17th Amendment. Even for the House of Representatives, it was up to the states to decide. And I tell stories in the book of, for example, a woman who in 1874 went to the Supreme Court and complained that she couldn't vote because she was a woman. And the Supreme Court said there was nothing that they could do about it. And a man in 1903 who went to the Supreme Court, said, I'm a black man in Alabama. They're not letting me vote because of my race, despite the 15th Amendment that's supposed to protect me. The Supreme Court said, nothing we can do about it. So there's this long history of the court not really protecting voting rights.
And so when you suggest this constitutional right to vote, you actually set out 6 different elements. I'm just going to ask about a few of them due to our limited time. But one of the things you say, coming off of the examples you just gave, is that an amendment must require that all citizens, adults, residents, non-felons get to vote, and their votes must be equal. Again, something probably think is the case today.
Well, as recently as the year 2000, some of your viewers probably remember Bush versus Gore, the case where the Supreme Court ended the 2000 election. In that case, the Supreme Court reminded us that the Constitution does not give people the right to vote for president. And although each state legislature has given that to voters, in future elections, they could take it back. We saw all the problems in the 2020 election where there were attempts to try to manipulate the outcome of the election. If we had in the Constitution that every state's votes have to be determined by the votes of voters for president, that would have made that impossible to do.
And by the way, Bush versus Gore, of course, the court seemed to know it was treading on thin water because it basically said, don't ever use this case for presidential value ever again. You also want voters to get a registered number, a voter number that they can take from state to state. That's a new concept.
Well, so voter ID is in some states. Voter registration, every state does it differently. I would basically try and make us more like other advanced democracies. Most places, look at other countries, not only do they have a right to vote enshrined in their constitution, but the government takes all the effort to register voters and to identify them. So if you move, say, from Illinois to Montana, we'll know who you are. You can be removed from the rolls in Illinois and put on the rolls in Montana. It just create a more rational system so we'd have less litigation. One of the huge problems we have in this country is just a ton of election litigation because our rules are so haphazard and they're changing all the time. That, too, is not like how it looks in other democracies.
And among your other factors, you talk about expanding the power of Congress to protect the rights, not just a narrow judicial view of those, and some other things people should read when they get the book. But I want to talk to you about the popular vote versus the Electoral College. You address that. A lot of people talk about that. And here's the thing. Obviously, Democrats would love to see a popular vote because they tend to win the popular vote. Republicans tend to win in the Electoral College. Isn't there a strategy, and you write about this, the way candidates will play to a popular vote if that's what we had, as opposed to the electoral vote? For example, candidates might not even visit smaller states because with popular votes, what does it matter? There's not that many people.
Right. So there's a real tension between, the idea that we want, people in each state to be paid attention to and important, but also the idea that is very common outside the context of the Electoral College and outside the context of the Senate that we all have equally weighted votes. So, I live in California. I have the ability to elect the same number of senators as someone who lives in Wyoming or in Rhode Island, states with very small populations. The Electoral College works the kind of building on the number of senators and representatives. What this is all about is, are we going to have some kind of equality in terms of, it doesn't matter where you live in the United States, your right to vote for president, the weight of that vote should be equal.
So you actually offer two options for versions of the amendment. You sort of like, all right, here's a nice fancy one we could have, a very robust effort, but if you don't want to do that, let's go with the basic thing. But there must be a couple of things that you'd say, whichever way you go, I guess it's the basic one, this is what you got to have.
Right. You got to have equally weighted votes for all people who are eligible to vote. It shouldn't be rocket science. It should be a system where all eligible voters, but only eligible voters, can easily cast a vote that will be fairly counted. Most other countries are able to do this better than we are these days. You think of the United States as a leader in democracy. We've got a lot to learn about how things are done in the rest of the world.
A constitutional amendment, as the bottom line, in your view, is the only way to truly protect the right. In today's reality, do you even see that happening? I mean, even the women's, equal rights is tough to get for women. That's been around for decades as they try to get that through. What's your hope for something like this?
Well, you got to think big and you have to think long term. So when the Supreme Court in the 1870s said that women do not have a right to vote protected by the Constitution, for the next 4 decades, women organized state by state and got that right to vote put in state constitutions until finally in 1920, we got it in the U.S. Constitution. So we need to think along a similar kind of strategy and time horizon. Everyone should work within their states to try to improve voting rights. And maybe at some point, maybe not for us, maybe for our kids or our grandchildren, there will be a moment where the United States will join the rest of the advanced democracies and actually protect the right to vote in its constitution.
And you end the book by urging action because democracy, you say, will not protect itself. The book is called The Real Right to Vote, How a Constitutional Amendment Can Safeguard American Democracy. It's available now. For more information, check out social media or press.princeton.edu. Rick Hasen's the author. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.